software. It is a combination of hardware and software. Right, it's a combination of hardware and software that supports the data exchange between systems, and also it supports the distributed applications, like it is mentioned that you see email, file transfer, etc. We'll see it how these are being done through protocol architectures, that will see it. So basically it's a combination of hardware and software that supports the data exchange, and there will be different layers are there. You see, and each layer we'll see the different protocol architectures, different layers. It's shown here, TCP/IP, OSI. So they are the two standard protocol architectures are there, and they consist of different layers, and each layer the set of protocols are being implemented in communication systems, and each protocol provides a set of rules for the data exchange between the two systems. Right, so that is actually protocol. Protocol means a set of rules. A set of rules that are being used in communication systems for data exchange. And the most, just I mentioned, the most widely used protocol architectures. It is one is TCP/IP. TCP/IP. This one TCP/IP. Another is OSI, transmission control protocols, internet protocols. Another is OSI, open system interconnections. We'll see in details. This is the widely used. This is a practical protocol architecture which is widely used for internet and other applications. Right. Basically, for internet, this protocol is used. OSI, another standard protocol architecture, is here. It is not used in practice, but it is a reference models. Open system interconnections. Other protocol structures, if some vendor wants to design some protocol architecture, so then OSI protocol structure will be consulted. This is a reference model for any protocol architectures. So we'll discuss in details this OSI. Next, we'll focus on this. What is the difference between TCP/IP protocols with the OSI? This is the practical protocol architecture which is used in internet, and it is consisting of 5 layers: physical layers, network layer, internet layer, transport layer, and application layer. The 5 layers protocols it is, and we'll see what are the function of each layer. Just now we'll see it. And OSI, it consists of 7 layers. 7 layers actually. There will be physical layers. P means physical layers. Next, actually, it is data link layer. Next is network layer. Next is transport layer. Next is session layer, presentation layer, application layer. I'll just show you in details about those things. So basically, it consists of 7 layers, and it consists of 5 layers. Function of each layer is most important. Now, before going into the details of it, you should know why this protocol is needed. Protocol means a set of rules that are being followed while exchanging data between two systems. Right. But the question is why this protocol, right, is needed at all in communication systems. Right. So if you just see, when you communicate data when data exchange takes place between two systems or two computers or computer and terminals or other data processing devices, then you see actual procedures are very complex. Though we have seen it simple, a path is there, but say for you want to exchange file between two computers, then what you need a data path between these two transmission media between two systems. Can be Cat6 cables, can be optical fiber, can be two-state pair, maybe wireless also. So you need some data path, right? But that is not sufficient. Much more is needed apart from the data path. You see, in fact, there are several requirements are there while communicating or while file transfer takes place. First, you see the source. The requirement is this. first requirement is the source must inform the network, the communication network about the desired destinations. That is the first ones, right? And the first requirement is the source systems. The source systems must inform the network, our communication network, or it will activate the data path for the communications, or it informs the source systems, it informs the communication network about the identity of the desired destinations. That is the first ones, right? Second requirement is this, you see, the source system must ensure that the receiver or the destination is ready to receive the data, right? That is the second requirement. Third requirement is this, say for file transfer applications, right? The source systems must ensure that the file management programs on the destinations is prepared to accept and store the file for this particular users. I mean, here for file transfer, the third one is for file transfer applications. There are different applications are there. Say for file transfer applications, file management program should be prepared to accept the file for a particular users. So that is the third requirement. And the fourth requirement is the if there may be the different types of format. I mean, file formats used by the two systems may be different. They are maybe incompatibles, right? If that is the case, then one or other systems must use format translation functions. Format translation functions must be used by one system or the other. It is now so quite clear that it is not so simple. There may be high degree of coordination is required. High degree of coordinations is required between the source and the destination, between the two systems, right? And instead of implementing the logic in a single module, these things in a single module, the task is broken into several subtasks, and they are arranged in a vertical stack. The modules are arranged in a vertical stack, and so the different layers will be there, and each layer performs a particular subset of functions, right? And each layer depends on the next lower layer to perform some primitive functions. We'll see what is primitive PDUs, etc. Some primitive functions, and provides a service to the higher layer. You see, different layers are there. So for any particular layer, it depends on the lower layer to perform some functions, and it provides a service to the next higher layer. So two pair layers in these systems, two pair layers in the two systems. So there are two systems are there. The two different layers will be there in the one system, different layers will be there in the other systems. So the two pair layers, right? They communicate. They communicate by means of syntax that concerns the format of data. There is a formatting of data. Semantics that includes the control informations for coordinations. That is for coordination syntax, semantics. There is semantics. Syntax for formatting the data. Semantics for control informations for coordinations and error handling. Semantics and timing. That this includes speed matching and sequencing. So there are three features are there in a particular protocols, right? And different vendors have different they use different data formats and data exchange protocols. So some standard protocols are required. So that's why two protocols are you see are there. One is the TCP/IP protocols, another is OSI protocols. So let us with this basic concept now let us focus on the OSI protocol architecture, open system interconnections. Open system interconnections. You see, the OSI full form is Open Systems Interconnections. Why it is called open system? That is because you see it is open to in other systems of having different architectures. So it's a basically a reference model. So any other architecture is required to develop, then it must be then OSI must be the reference model for that architecture. So in open system interconnections, OSI protocol architectures, you see there are 7 layers are there. You see the bottom layer is called a physical layer. Next is the data link layer. Next is network layer. Next is transport layer. Next is session layer. Next is presentation layer, and the top will be the application layer. Right. So these are 7 layer protocols, and TCP/IP that is actually the 5 layer protocol. It is reduced to 5 layer protocols. That we'll see. So let us see the functions of each layers of OSI protocol architectures. So in the physical layers, the bottom layer is called the physical layer. The physical actually it is related to the physical interfacing between the devices. We have seen the physical interfacings. I mean interface of the devices and the rules through which the bits are exchanged between the two systems. Right, and in fact, this physical interface or the physical layer, it has 4 characteristics. The interface it has 4 characteristics. The mechanicals, one is mechanical, another is electricals, another is functionals, and there is procedural. The 4 characteristics are there for the physical interface. Right. What is what is actually there in mechanical characteristics? Mechanical actually here it defines the type of mediums, right, related to the physical properties of the interface to a transmission mediums. I mean, it's a type of medium needed. That actually type of medium needed. That means I told you there are different types of mediums are there. So it defines the type of mediums needed for the data exchange. That is the mechanicals. Electrical characteristics related to the data encoding schemes. Which type of data encoding scheme is? We have seen the encoding schemes. That there are different type of encoding schemes are there. So that is related to the electrical characteristics related to the encoding schemes, and also the data transmission rate of the bits. Actually, there is a representation of bits and the data rate. So it deals with the representation of bits and the data rates. So encoding schemes and the transmission rate. That is this one. That is electrical characteristics. What is functional characteristics? Functional characteristics actually here it specifies the functions that are to be performed by the individual circuits. So that is the functional characteristics. And what is procedural characteristics? That actually specifies the sequence of events by which the bit streams are exchanged across the peer layers, across the physical mediums, right? Sequence of events means it can be half duplex, it can be full duplex, like these things. So that is indicated by these procedural characteristics. So there are 4 characteristics are there in physical layers, right? And basically it deals with the physical interface between the devices that are exchanging the devices or two systems that are exchanging the data. Right. Next is the data link layer. In data link layer, actually here it transforms the physical layer, which is actually basically a raw transmission facility, to a reliable link. This data link layer, it transforms the physical layer to a reliable link, reliable data links, right? And the duties or the services that are to be performed by this data link layer, number 1 is there the series they're listed here. framing, physical addressings, flow controls, error control, access control. What is framing? Actually, framing here, data link layer divides the stream of, there will be stream of bits that will be exchanged. The stream of bits that is received from the network layer. High layer, you see it upper, if you see from the application layer, that will flow, PDU will flow in these directions. So data will be received from the network layer. So this stream of bits received from the network layer, you see, it divides into a block of bits which is called frames, manageable data units, which is called frames. You see, that is the frames. You see frames. So stream of bits, it is divided into frames, manageable data units, which is called frames. Next, you see other duties is physical addressings. Physical addressing, it is actually related to the header. It is in data link layer. Actually, you will see it. Data link, we have seen it also. Data link layer, we have discussed it. We have seen some header is here. So it data link layer, actually header is added to the frames to define the sender or the receiver of the frames, who is sending the frames and who is receiving the frames. Sender and receiver addresses are mentioned through the header of the frames. Right. So that is the physical addressings. Next is flow controls. Flow control, we have seen it. If the rate, the data rate that is absorbed by the receiver is less than the rate produced by the sender, transmitted by the sender, then you see the flow control mechanism is needed. That we know it. And the simplest one is the stop and wait flow controls. You see, stop and we have seen it, stop and flow controls without, but not sending the acknowledgement. It can control the flow. It can have the flow controls. So that is other things are also there. So it will reduce the burden of the receiver. That is the flow controls. Next, error controls. This data link layer adds the reliability to the physical layer by adding mechanisms to detect and to retransmit, to detect the errors and to retransmit the lost frames or data damaged frames. We have seen during communication some frames may be lost, some frames may be damaged, whether it may be acknowledgement frames or maybe data frames. So some techniques will be, some mechanisms would be applied here, data link layer, to detect the errors and to retransmit the lost frames or the damaged frames. So that is the error controls. Next is access controls. If two or more devices are connected to the same link, sometimes you can have network where two or more devices connected to the same link. That times data link layer protocols are there. Protocols are used to determine which device will have a control control on the link at a particular times. So that is the access controls. So this protocol, the access control protocols are provided also in data link layer. So these are the duties performed by the data link layer. Next, you see the network layer. Network layer actually it provides means to access the subnetwork for routing, logical addressing, etc. Right? Priorities, etc. These services are provided. In fact, you see, it provides the mechanisms for transfer of informations between end systems across some communication networks. So in this layer, actually, computer systems will engage in a dialogue. I mean, there will be a dialogue between the computer systems with the network. There will be a dialogue between the computer systems with the network to specify the destination address and to request certain network facilities, like say priorities that I mentioned, priorities. So basically, this layer deals with the routing, logical addressings, priorities, etc. So it provides means to access the subnetwork for routing the messages. So that is a function of network layer. Next, transport layer, it provides a mechanism for exchange of reliable data. I mean, reliable exchange of data between the two systems, right? That is a function of the transport layer. Here, of course, we will see it. I'll just show you one protocol functions. There can be two types of system. I mean, two types of service will be there: connection-oriented service and connection-less service. Connection-oriented service means AFC virtual circuit, so logical connection established. And connection-less service means datagram, there is no specific, there is no logical connections, specific route for data connections. So for for connection-oriented service, you see data should be received or data should be delivered with no loss or duplications. So this is the function of the transport layer. It also concerned with this transport layer, concerned with the optimizing of the resources, network resources, network services, and provides some quality of service to the higher layers. I mean, higher layers is session layers, right? Say session entity may specify some acceptable error rates, maximum delay, priority, security, etc. So it can provide those services to the session layer. So basically, its function is to perform the reliable exchange of data between the end systems, right? So that is the transport layer. So these four layers, you see these bottom four layers, just now what I have discussed now. You see this physical layer, data link layer, network layer, transport layer. They are actually they provide the reliable exchange of data. And also they can provide various quality of service, just I mentioned, priorities, etc. options. For some applications, it's okay, but for some applications, this service is not sufficient. This will be insufficient. So, for example, if the remote terminals requires the half duplex, then these are not sufficient. So for applications like half duplex, or sometimes message, some message would be in a dialog would be interrupted, and next it will prepare a new message, and that is to be sent. So that type of work, that type of service is not this type of service cannot be obtained in the previous four layers. So for this, we need some layer which is called the session layers. And in the session layers, you see there will be three dialog structuring tools are there. There will be three dialog structurings, and this session layer actually provides the mechanism for controlling the dialogue between applications or in the two systems, right? So what are the three dialog structuring tools in session layer? You see session layer. In session layers, there are three dialog structuring tools are there. One is the dialog discipline, right? I mean, session layer, you see it here, there can be sometimes it needs half duplex dialog, sometimes message processing is required, message service is required. So for these things, this session layer is useful, session layer is needed. So in this layer, the three dialog structuring tools are there. One is dialog discipline. I mean, dialog discipline, here the dialog can be full duplex or can be two-way alternate, means half duplex. Dialog that is the dialog disciplines can be half duplex, or can be full duplex, right? Or there can another dialog structuring tool is grouping. Grouping, here flow of data can be marked to define some groups of data. Some groups of data can be defined, groupings. And third, recovery. Recovery means here session layer can provide checkpointing mechanisms. You see, this is checkpointing mechanisms. Why it is required? If some failure occurs between the checkpoints, there can be two checkpoints there. Then if a failure occurs between two checkpoints, the session entity can retransmit the data from the last checkpoint. So there are three dialog structuring tools are there in session layers. One is dialog disciplines, and there is groupings, and third one is recovery. Right. So they are the services provided by the session layers. Next, you see the presentation layer. In the presentation layer defines the format. It defines the format of data. Data to be exchanged between the two applications, between the two systems, the two applications. Right. And it defines the syntax. Syntax means format of data between the application entities. Right. And different services are being provided here, like the data compressions, data encryptions, you see that we see it, say to avoid some attacks, right? Security purposes, encryptions are there, right? Data encryptions, data decryptions, those things, those techniques are there for to avoid the active attack, passive attack. Those things are there. I mean, for network security. So these things, these services are being provided in the presentation layers. And finally, there will be application layer. In the application layers, you see here actually it provides the user interfaces and provides support to services like email, file access, transfer, access to World Wide Web, www, etc. These services are being provided in the application layer. In fact, it enables the user to access the network. It enables the user to access the network and provide the services like email, file access, transfer of files, access to www, etc. Those things are World Wide Web and like these things. And the major duties of this application layer is the mail services, right? Email forwarding, storage, etc. Mail is the file transfer and access. These applications actually allows the user to access files in a remote host, file transfer access remote host, or to retrieve files from a remote computers. Right, that is file transfer and access. Right, and remote logins. It can provide the remote login facilities, and it can log on into a remote computer and access the resources of that computer. That is remote login, and also you see it can provide service of these www. That is the common applications, right? www. So access to these ones. So these are the major duties provided by the application layers. So quickly, if you just see what are the what is the most important things OSI. So there are 7 layers are there. Physical layer concerns with the physical interface between the two systems. Right, it has interface at 4 characteristics. These are the characteristics. Data link layer, you see here, it converts the raw physical layer to a reliable link. Several duties are performed here, like flow control, error controls, framings, right? Other things we have seen it, framings. What are the other things? Framings, access controls, right? Physical addressing. Those are being provided here. Network layer, it provides some means to access the network, basically routing messages. Right. Transport layer, you see in that case exchange of data, right? Reliable exchange of data, transport layers. The data should be received error-free, right? A reliable exchange of data that is related to the transport layers. Sensor layers, you see here sometimes services like hub duplex, message processing, those things are required. So for that, some direct structuring tools are required. So those things are being provided in the sensor. The data can be exchanged by hub duplex or full duplex, like these things. What kind of duplicity is required. So those are being defined in the session layer, but will be defined by the session layers. Presentation layers, it defines the format of data that are to be exchanged. And application layer, that just now you have seen it, it enables the user to access the network, right? So these are the 7 layers of OSI and the functions of functions of different layers. Now see the TCP/IP. In TCP/IP, you see it is 5-layer protocols. In this case, you see some how it is being similarly converted into 5 layers. Here you see physical layers, network access layers, internet layers, transport layer, and application layers. Right. So these are the 5 layers, and this TCP/IP actually widely used in internet. Right. So here physical layer same as this physical layer. Physical layer, it covers the physical interface that we have seen it, same as OSI. Network access layer, here you see next, there is no data link layer here. If network access layer is here in this case. Network access layer is concerned with the exchange of data between and systems and the network to which it is connected, right? So system and the network to which it is connected. So it is concerned with the access to routing the data across the network for end systems that are attached to the same network. But sometimes you have seen these networks can be of different networks will be there. Say suppose you are accessing the emails, so that is coming through networks of networks. Different types of networks are there. So that times different protocol is needed. That is provided in the internet layer. The networks are different, but if the same network is here, then it is network access. That is the routing is provided by the network access layer. But if the networks are different, then protocol like IP protocol, IP message, IP protocols are there. You see IP protocols are used to provide the routing functions across multiple networks. And this protocol is implemented not only in the end system but also in the router. Some routers are used internet. A router is nothing but a processor that connects two networks, and its function is to provide to relay the data from network to the others. So the routers, you can see several routers are there in our R&D building. Several routers are there, right? So these are the functions of the internet layer. So this service is required when the different types of networks are interconnected. Next is the transport layer. Transport layer, it is the same as before, reliable exchange of data. How data it provides the protocols for reliable exchange of data, and in this case, mechanism of course used that are used are essentially independent of the nature of applications, right? And some protocol like TCP protocols, transmission control protocol, is the most commonly used protocols to provide this functionality, right? That is the TCP protocols. You see, TCP protocol is here. This is the first host-to-host layer protocols, right? Other protocols are these ones. If the two systems are there, then this transport or TCP protocols, or the transport layers, two transport and the transport, there will be first host-to-host layer protocols. Other will be through protocols will be through some internet, right? So this is the function of the transport layer. And the application layer, the same as before, it contains the logic or protocol that is required to support the various user applications, right? That we have seen it. Different applications are there, right? Like say email. What are the different applications like SMTP, simple mail transfer protocols, mail transfer, SMTP, simple mail transfer protocols. That is actually, this protocol provides the facility or email facility. It provides also mechanism for transferring messages among the hosts, and also features like mailing list, return receipt, forwarding, etc. Those services are being provided by this protocol SMTP. Another application is file transfer protocol, FTP file transfer protocols, that is used to send the files from one system to other under the user command. There is FTP protocols. Another protocol is here Telnet. It provides the remote login capabilities that enables a user to log on to a remote computer and function as it will work in such a way that it seems as if it is directly connected to the computers, right? So remote login capabilities or facilities, this will be provided by this protocol Telnet. So these are the different applications of the TCP/IP, right, in application layers. So this is a 5-layer protocols. Its difference is quite clear. It's 7-layer protocols and it is 5-layer protocols. Here the extra layer is GC session layer is dropped here, data link layer is dropped here, but one extra layer is there, which is the internet layer, where IP protocol is used, right? When the different multiple interconnectors are there. Next, you see primitives or PDUs when this protocol architecture is used. Actually, data exchange through this PDUs, PDU protocol data unit. Now, also primitives are involved. What are these things? In fact, services. What are primitives and PDUs? Primitives means actually services between the adjacent layers in OSI are expressed in terms of primitives and parameters. Services, these are actually expressed in terms of primitives and parameters. Primitives specifies the functions that are to be performed, and primitives it specifies the functions. Specific functions that are to be performed, and parameters, these are actually used to pass the data and control. These are used to pass data and control informations, right? You see, like say 4 types of primitives are there to define the interactions between the adjacent layers. 4 types of primitives. 4 types of primitives are there, like request, indications, response, confirm. Right? The 4 different types of primitives are there to define the interactions between the adjacent layers. Request, it indicates here this primitive actually issued by the service user to initiate some service, to request. This is one primitive. Another primitive is there indications. This is issued, this primitive issued by the service provider to indicate, either to indicate that a procedure has been initiated, or to notify that notify the service user of a particular initiated actions of a particular initiated actions. So that is the indications primitive. That is the function of indicative primitives, right? And that is issued by the service provider. And third one is a response primitive, that is issued by the by the service user to acknowledge a response, to acknowledge or complete some procedure, to acknowledge or to complete some procedure. The response primitive is used. Confirm, this is issued by the service provider. This is issued by the service user. This is issued by the service provider. Indication, it is issued by the service provider. And first one, request, that is issued by the service user. So carefully just note it. This is issued by service user. This is by the service provider. This is service user, and this is issued by the service provider. So the confirmations, you see this primitive is issued by the service provider to acknowledge or to complete some procedure that is previously initiated by request by the service user. So that is the function of this confirm primitives. Right. Now come to these things. What is PDU? Actually, there are several types of data units are there that are exchanged between the peer layers between two systems. One is protocol control informations (PCI). Different data units are there. One is called PCI, protocol control informations. What is this? This is the protocol informations exchange between the different entities to coordinate their functions. This is actually control informations are there, PCI. And another is SDU, service data units. This is actually transfer between the ends of a connections, right? That is the service data units that are exchanged. That is transferred between the ends of a connections. This SDU, service data unit, and the combination of these two, that is called the PDU, protocol control informations plus service data unit. That is called, the combination of these two is called the PDUs. Actually, PDUs are exchanged. I'll just show you one diagrams. PDUs are exchanged between the different peer layers. Right? Data are exchanged in the form of PDUs. Right. So this is these are all about the protocol architectures. So till now, if you have any questions, you can ask. Otherwise, you see the next you'll see the functions of protocols. Any question regarding protocol architectures? Any questions?
No, sir. No, sir.
Okay. N means there are n entities. N. You see, N means n entities. So next you see the functions of protocol. What are the functions of protocols? There are actually 8 functions are there, and they are the key functions. Some other functions also there, but they are the key functions of protocol. First is encapsulations. Encapsulations. What is this one? Encapsulations. Here you see encapsulation means actually whenever control information, you have seen this, when data are accessed, some control information is also required. So control information, when it is added to the data, then it is called, the method is called encapsulations, right? In fact, you see data are transferred in the form of blocks that just now have seen it is called PDUs, protocol data unit. Protocol data unit. Data is transferred in the form of PDUs, protocol data unit. Now, this PDU, just now I've seen it. It not only contains the data, but also it contains the control informations, right? The control informations now can be of different types. Control informations. What are the different types of control informations? You see, it can be like address, right? There are actually 3 categories are there. Control information. One is the address. Address means address of sender receiver must be indicated. This is the one control informations. Second is this error detecting code. Error detecting code. Some sort of frame check sequences. You have seen this for a frame check sequence. Those things are there. I mean, CRC method is included for error detections. And third is this. These are actually we have seen this in the framing. Some control informations are there for error detections. Protocol controls. Protocol controls. So what is this protocol control? Some additional information is included to implement the protocol functions. So some information is included. That is called the protocol controls. So they are the different control information. So when this control information is included, is added to the data, then that method is called encapsulations. Next, you see the fragmentation and assembly. Whenever you see the application entity sends data in a continuous streams, the lower streams sometimes it is required to break the data into blocks of some smaller size. So when the data are divides, data divides or the data breaks into smaller blocks of unit, then that process is called the fragmentations. Then why these data are divided into smaller blocks? The reasons are there. One reason is I mean, for fragmentations, you see, fragmentations, the reasons it is, first is the some of the networks, you see, some networks, they only accept data in certain size. Say for ATM network, if it is ATM networks, different types of network like that. If network is there, then it is limited to these 53 octets. 53 octets. Right, data units should be of this size of the 53 octets. So Ethernet, they are having different size. Ethernet, ATN, like these things. So that's why if larger block of unit is here, that will be divided into smaller blocks. So that is one issue. Communication network may accept some specific size of data. That for that case, fragmentation is required. Second is these error controls. You see, error controls will be easier if it is divided into smaller PDU size. Because if some error is here, then a few will be retransmitted instead of transmitting the whole larger block. Only few PDUs will be retransmitted. So that is these things. That is the error controls. Next, you see for smaller PDU size, it can allocate the smaller buffers. The buffer size also can be smaller, so cost will be reduced. Buffer size. So for these reasons, it needs fragmentations. So for fragmentations, the protocols are required. So that is another function of protocols. That is a function of encapsulation fragmentations. Now, of course, if you do this fragmentation, some drawbacks are also be there. The PDU, if divided into smaller blocks, then more overhead will be there. So some drawbacks also will be there because of these fragmentations. Just 1 or 2 minutes, 1 minute. Drawbacks will be there. So first will be the more overhead will be there. More overhead will be there. Also, you see, more time will be spent for processing smaller PDUs. If more PDUs, that means more processing time will be required. So these are the drawbacks of the fragmentations. And but also you see there is a need of reassembly. The counterpart of this one, it is reassembly. The segmented data must be reassembled into messages appropriate to the application levels. Right. So that is the reassembly. Next time we'll see the other ones. Then it will be completed the protocol in the protocol functions. So next time we'll see it. So till now, if you have any questions, you can ask. 1 or 2 questions are most welcomes. If you have any questions, you can ask. I'm stopping it here. Any questions?
No, sir.
Okay, Harshvardhan, Friday, 10 o'clock, I'll take some extra class because tomorrow is a holiday, so to finish it, then otherwise it will be difficult to conduct the last quiz.
Sir,
Yes,
you had told on 5th at 10 o'clock, no, sir?
fifth quiz will be 11 o'clock, as you have
No,
mentioned.
no, sir, you are saying extra class. I'm saying about extra class.
Extra class, it is 10 o'clock, right?
Yes, sir, yes.
10 to 11, because 11 to 12, I have another classes here.
Yes, sir, yes, sir.
So 10 to 11, 10 to 11, 10 to as usual, not from 10 o'clock to 50, 10:50. Okay,
Yes, sir.
Friday means day after tomorrow. Okay,
Yes, sir, yes.
okay, okay.
Thank
And final quiz will be on 12th, right? That is at you have mentioned it is 11. Already I have informed Tripathi also regarding informed this
Yes,
one.
sir. Final quiz on 12th November on 11 a.m.
11 a.m. Right, 11 a.m.
Yes.
Okay, then just wait 1 minute. Okay.